Cozy Cloud Stories.
The Old Tree's New Friend. Deep in the heart of an ancient forest, where the wind hummed lullabies and golden sunlight danced through emerald leaves, stood two magnificent trees, Banyan and Oakley. Banyan was the elder of the two, his roots stretching deep into the earth, his branches sprawling wide, offering shade to all who sought refuge beneath him. Oakley, younger but just as grand, stood beside him, his trunk straight and strong, his golden brown leaves rustling in the wind like laughter. They had been together for hundreds of years, growing side by side, sharing stories whispered by the breeze, and watching the seasons come and go. Birds built their nests in their branches, squirrels played hide and seek in their hollows, and rabbits found safety in the shade of their roots. The forest was their home, and life was beautiful. One crisp autumn morning, the trees noticed a change in the forest. The usual peace was disturbed by a group of humans who carried axes and ropes. The trees watched as they walked around, measuring trunks, tapping the bark, whispering among themselves. Then one of them pointed at Oakley. Banyan's leaves rustled with concern. He had seen this before years ago, when a strong pine was taken from the forest. The men had cut it down, taken it away, and never brought it back. "Oakley," Banyan whispered, his deep voice trembling, "I think they've chosen you." Oakley's branches stiffened. "I always knew this could happen, but I never thought it would be today." The trees had always known that some of them would be taken for wood, but they had hoped they would grow old together, their roots intertwined forever. The men returned the next morning. They tied ropes around Oakley's trunk, and with sharp axes they began to cut. "Banyan," Oakley murmured, his voice barely audible over the sharp sounds of chopping, "promise me something." "Anything," Banyan whispered, his heart aching. "Stay strong. Keep our stories alive. And if ever a new tree grows in my place, take care of it." Before Banyan could reply, there was a loud crack. Oakley trembled, his roots pulling free from the earth. With a final sigh, he fell. The impact shook the ground, scattering birds into the sky. The creatures of the forest fell silent. Banyan watched as the men loaded Oakley's body onto a cart and took him away. For the first time in centuries, Banyan was alone. Days turned into weeks, and autumn gave way to winter. Banyan stood tall, but his heart felt heavy. Without Oakley beside him, the forest felt quieter, emptier. The birds who once nested in Oakley now searched for new homes. The squirrels hesitated before playing near Banyan, sensing his sadness. Even the wind, which used to bring whispers of laughter, now howled mournfully through the trees. The snow fell gently, covering the place where Oakley once stood. Banyan often spoke to the empty space beside him. "I miss you, Oakley," he murmured to the wind. "The forest isn't the same without you." Winter was long that year, and the cold seeped into Banyan's old roots. He wondered if his heart would ever feel light again. One morning, as the frost melted and spring stretched its arms across the land, something caught Banyan's eye. A tiny green sprout had pushed its way through the earth, right where Oakley once stood. It was fragile, its stem thin, its leaves barely unfurled, but it was alive. Banyan felt a spark of warmth inside him. "A new tree?" he whispered in wonder. The little sprout trembled in the morning breeze, as if answering him. Banyan bent his branches protectively over it. He remembered his promise to Oakley. From that day on, Banyan dedicated himself to caring for the young sapling. He shielded it from harsh winds, caught rain in his leaves so the water would drip gently onto its roots, and whispered stories of Oakley as the days passed. The sapling listened, stretching taller with each sunrise, its leaves growing stronger under Banyan's watchful care. Seasons passed, and the sapling grew into a young tree, strong and sturdy. Its bark thickened, and its branches stretched toward the sky. One day, as the golden sunset bathed the forest in warm light, the young tree spoke for the first time. "Hello, old friend," it said softly. "My name is Sprout." Banyan's heart swelled with joy. He was not alone anymore. "Welcome, Sprout," he said. "You are home." Over the years, Banyan taught Sprout everything he knew about the songs of the wind, the secrets of the rain, and the wisdom of the stars. "Do you miss Oakley?" Sprout asked one evening. Banyan's branches swayed gently. "I do, but you remind me of him, and that brings me joy." Sprout grew taller, his leaves thick and green. Birds began to nest in his branches, and squirrels played in his hollows. The forest was alive again. One day, a group of humans returned to the forest, carrying axes and ropes. Banyan watched them carefully, his old heart worried. But this time, instead of cutting down trees, they planted new ones. The forest was changing, but not in the way Banyan feared. As the sun set behind the hills, Banyan looked at Sprout and smiled. The world would always change, but friendship, love, and memories lived on. And as the stars twinkled above, Banyan knew that Oakley's spirit remained, not just in Sprout, but in every leaf that rustled in the wind, in every bird that sang, and in every whisper of the forest. With that thought, Banyan closed his eyes and fell into a peaceful sleep, listening to the lullaby of the trees, knowing that the cycle of life would continue forever. If you love heartwarming bedtime stories filled with friendship, nature, and adventure, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.